Who would you put money on to be the Steelers' opening day quarterback?
I would say Aaron Rodgers right now.
Okay.
But
what's the holdup here? The Vikings?
If I'm going to come out here and tell you what I know what the holdup is, Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to be a lot like these weekend reports are just totally just speculating. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. They might think they know.
All right, give us your best speculation then. Because apparently
he's being him.
Well, the Giants offered more money according to reports. According to other reports, he wants to be a Viking. Michael Silver reports that the Vikings are like 50-50 on not knowing whether they want Rodgers or to roll forward now with J.J. McCarthy. And then there's the whole Russell Wilson thing up in the air.
Yeah, with Russell going to Cleveland and now New York without a contract, he's just sitting there waiting for Aaron Rodgers to say no so he can swoop in here. I mean, that has all the indications in the world to me.
So you don't think that the bridges have been burned there between the Steelers and Russell Wilson?
The bridges are burned. The bridges are burned until you really need them. You know?
If, let's say, they strike out on Rodgers and they turn their lonely eyes back to Russell Wilson, I mean, he's got to hold them over the barrel, right? Like, whatever they thought they were going to pay him, I'm guessing they're going to have to pay him.
You're only as good as your options. I mean, what are these other options? The 3-14 Giants or the 0-17 Browns.
Mm-hmm.
If you want any chance to win as a 37-year-old quarterback, you better not be going there, especially when, if potentially the Giants are going to draft a quarterback in the first round, right? Do you want to put up with that? So his best case, for him professionally, would be the return here. I mean, if all this stuff blows up, I mean, I don't even think you think twice and just hand the ball to Mason. If Rodgers goes to Minnesota and they don't want Wilson or he goes to the Giants, you just hand it to Mason and say, you're our starter. No pole position, no, I'm going to go pay a ton for Kirk Cousins because now he has no trade clause and all this stuff.
Could they fool themselves into falling in love with Jackson Dart and drafting him at 21?
Let's hope not. But anything's on the board right now. But something tells me all of this chatter with Jackson Dart is going to push him up. And the Steelers are in no position to move up in the draft this year.
So you think he might go before the Steelers pick?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, you're hearing a lot of chatter, and once you get to draft day, teams get very, very desperate. I mean, if it's the Saints or whoever it might be that might not need one, says, hey, let's take our chance because we really, really love this guy, even though he's played 3 good games in his career. I don't even know. I wouldn't. I mean, just at that point, just go with Mason and let's just rerun it again next year.
Well, how do you think Mason would play?
I mean, he can't be any worse than what I mean, he would be probably say on the same level as Russell, probably the same level as anybody else they would bring in right now. I mean, if not better.
Justin Fields, Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I think he would be, honestly, and people probably don't want to hear this, but I think he was a better option for this year than Justin Fields would be. As in winning right now. I mean, Justin could be a guy that you can transform your offense into and probably would have been the best bet overall. But if you want to win this year, I think with Mason and you have some weapons, if you keep George around, you add, Freiermuth and that offensive line, which is, I still think that's a little bit of revisionist history there. They got some talent on that offensive line. They just got to.
Yeah, they're just young.
Yeah, and plus they got to get Broderick Jones back.
Yeah.
If Broderick Jones plays above average, that's an above average, if not better, offensive line. And you hear people say, oh, this offensive line's terrible. No, they got a lot invested in it and a lot of good players. They just have to bring it all together. So I think Mason would. I think Mason would be able to be successful here with obviously more weapons than Russell had last year.
Do you think they told him that he'd have an opportunity to start, or do you think that it was just established that all right, you're going to be a backup?
I think he's under the impression it was a backup.
Okay.
But once again, things change in a hurry in this league.
Well, and a backup behind an old guy.
Yeah, that's the key. He sees 37 in December and 42 in November, whenever it is, and saying, if I have a chance to start.
This is it, yeah.
If anywhere I have a chance to start, this is it.
All right, let's play this hypothetical out even further. Let's say they swing and miss on Rodgers and the bridges are burned with Russ and he winds up with the Giants, and it is Mason Rudolph.
Mm-hmm.
Say they win 10 games. Not out of the realm of possibility. They seem to win 10 games. That's what they do. If he does, could they convince themselves he's the guy? Would they allow for that possibility? Mason Rudolph, QB1, ...
Nah, I think they would. You would still. I don't think they would find themselves in a position where with Ben, he was franchise Hall of Famer. Let's just ride him, get him weapons. Here they got to go more like, say, the Falcons did. Okay, we had Kirk Cousins, but hey, if we have a Jackson Dart coming down the road, we better add him. I don't think they would go if he had a great season and they can see him being around for a couple years. That's when you really, really, I think, focus in on the draft. Find a guy that can maybe sit for a year. Next year might be that year. But what can happen in a year?